from Mary Dulce.
Yes, we have our Far Lightning Talk speakers.
Please.
Big applause. Go ahead, 4 minutes.
All right. I would probably not need 4 minutes, but so the title of the talk is Jupy Embed. He said, please don't do this, but that's not the full title. The title is Jupy Embed. Don't do this. Please don't do this. Maybe? I'm not sure. So just to show you how well maintained this project is, initial commit 4 years ago. And so this all started with an email that I got about another email, because someone sent a person an email with a Jupyter notebook inside, and they said that I cannot use this because the person sent the Jupyter notebook, but not the environment, not the CSV file that apparently they were reading. So the idea was that, how can I solve this? And the answer could not be tell the other person to sell the data, to send the data file. So here comes Jupy Embed. Again, now, don't judge me. I'm not saying this is a good idea, or even I don't think you should even do this. But anyway, so as we know, Jupyter notebooks in its all of glory, they're just JSON documents, right? And they have this thing called metadata as a tag, and you can just put anything there. At the end of the day, it's JSON. If it's valid JSON, it's a valid notebook. And so let's see what can we do with that. So, I made this thing called Jupy Embed, and big bold letters, do not use this. Please don't use this. And you can just pip install Jupy Embed, and you can do something like Jupy Embed notebook and put in a bunch of CSV files, and it will end up in the thing. Let's if you just want to look, I just generated some random data, just random 4 columns. Again, random 4 columns, some random data. I run this command, Jupy Embed, the notebook you want, and you just keep on adding the notebook, the CSV files. And if, for example, when I open notebook.py, the .ipynb, and if I just run these cells, let me just restart the kernel, so you know that I'm not lying. When I do this, and when I run this, it basically, it's not reading from, for example, if I delete these 2 files right here, it should still work. And it's reading from the metadata itself, and you have this thing called, note, and it's very hacky. Even the API is very hacky because it is hacky, and it will return you these 2 different data sources that we added. You can ask it for a NumPy array instead of a pandas data frame. Again, this may all look nice. It's interesting that you don't have to send anyone any data file anymore, but don't do this. And just to show you where it is. So if you open the raw JSON, it's they have this thing called metadata inside the JSON. I just create my own key, embed data, and this is all of your data. And I mean, anyway, anything that could be translated into valid JSON could be used in such a way to transfer data along. And I also I didn't put that in Jupy Embed, but you can also basically embed the environment itself. You can put in a conda log file. You can put in a the other thing that I added was you can put in a Docker image name. So at startup time, you can basically just pull in the Docker image, run this inside the Docker image, and do your things. Again, not a good idea. Just saying. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So who was next? Was it?
I think
Yep.
we just pulled that. So next.
Yes, next will be Eric Charles, Jupyter React.
Woo.
Hello there, everyone. I'm James Monroe. This is more of a pitch than a presentation. Several of us, not all of us, but many of us got into open science and Jupyter and those things because of some frustration on the science side. Lots of PhDs in the room. They went, oh, there's a better way to do science. And so we got into this field. There's another group of people who came at from the tech side. And they have a computer science degree, but they want to do more with their life. They want to advance science, solve big problems. So here's my proposal. I think there's a conversation that can happen around Jupyter and open science that several in this room may go, oh, I'd spend a little bit of time talking about that. So here's my pitch. I think whoever's interested, after the lightning talks, because we should stick for those, we should gather and we should walk off to some place. Looking quickly, someone said La Gare Le Gore. As an idea, I don't know if that's a great place or a terrible place, but I will toss that out. And if anyone's interested in having a quick meetup on Jupyter and open science following the lightning talks, please join us. Cheers.
Woo. Thank you.
Okay, so next, Pavitra.
Good evening, everyone. If I pass out, please bear with me. This is my first time in a stage like this, and I come here to share a story with you.
Once upon a time, in a less developed country, a young man named Max was about to embark on a life-changing journey through the world of Python programming and its incredible scientific computing community. As a math undergrad student, Max faced a challenge that seemed insurmountable. The university lab, the only place with access to MATLAB, was always filled with students, leaving him no opportunity to complete his assignments or explore the software. Frustrated, Max sought an alternative. He discovered Matplotlib, a Python library that offered the visualization capabilities he needed. And as he delved deeper into Python, he found other invaluable projects like NumPy, SciPy, and IPython. Fueled by passion and determination, Max mastered these powerful tools, earning top marks and stunning his professors with the quality of his work. And as he immersed himself in the Python community, he found a sense of belonging and inspiration. Over time, Max's passion for programming inspired him to dream bigger. And with the support and resources of the Python community and its invaluable scientific libraries, he aspired to become a professional software engineer and work in advanced machine learning applications. As he looked back on his university years and his long journey, Max felt a deep sense of gratitude for the Python community and the creators and contributors of open source projects like NumPy, SciPy, IPython, and Matplotlib. Max never forgot the impact these open source projects had on his career and life. He made it his life mission to give back to the communities that had given him so much. Max's journey is a testament to the transformative power of passion, determination, and the open source ecosystem. With the help of the Python community and the support of his fellow software developers, he was able to create a brighter future for himself, his family, and those around him. And for all these reasons, he will be forever grateful.
My name is Max, and I came to say thank you to all of you.
Woo.
So thank you for the people who did the caption, because IPython was with an uppercase I and an uppercase P.
So, what you see here is my co-founder, Elijah Mix, who is also well known from some contribution in open source about charting frameworks. But basically, the quick lightning talk is about a plugin that we built for having ChatGPT understanding Jupyter notebooks. So I'm Pierre from Notable. Notable is a cloud-based notebook solution that respects all the protocols and format of Jupyter notebooks. And so basically, what we do here is just a quick demo to show you how the plugin enables giving basically access GPT to data and compute. So of course, be careful about that for privacy and security reasons as well. But as soon as you have a Notable account that you can have for free, you're going to ask him to say, hey, can you create a notebook here using this data? It's going to automatically basically write the code and the markdown and run the cells programmatically. We use also a library called Papermill that you might be familiar with. That's my CTO, Matthew Seal, built when he was at Netflix with other folks as part of the entire project. And so we use that library to programmatically having ChatGPT be an additional actor in the live session and the kernel. And so what you see here, just Elijah talking over it, but automatically ChatGPT creates all those cells by just accessing the Notable API, like I said, again, using the Peppermill library that's open source as well. And so as you can see the executions, and you can see the notebook being created and updated. And I think it's very useful once to get started with data science or data analytics. If you're not familiar with it, of course, don't trust everything as being written. Here's an example that's working really well. Sometimes it takes a lot of iteration for you to either correct the code by yourself or interacting with ChatGPT even more. We're going to try to work on trying to make it work with more open source solution rather than just with OpenAI. That is closed source and seeing how it can be useful. But for example, for me, with not doing any Python since my Master of Research, so I'm very rusty about it. It's very useful to get started again to ask things about how to do a linear regression, how to do a polynomial regression, and asking different things like that. So yeah, thank you very much.
A thunder of applause for this lightning talk. So Mark Baker, you can come up on stage.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Mark Bakker. I work at Delft University of Technology. Who of you teaches Python? Anybody? Yeah, quite a few. All right. I started teaching it 10 years ago when I finally convinced my university that it was time to leave MATLAB behind and start using Python. At the time, I wanted to use notebooks, which were still called IPython notebooks at the time. First year, I even ran nthought because that was the only installation that worked on the students' computers. And after that, quickly switched over to Anaconda and started using them. I'm showing them here. We are teaching it 21 weeks, spread over 3 quarters, 7 sessions per quarter, where I have 300 to 400 students learning Python with Jupyter notebooks. I actually called it exploratory computing with Python, a phrase I learned from Fernando years ago. And I'm kind of proud that if you type in exploratory computing with Python in Google search, the first one you hit is the GitHub site where all the notebooks are that I use for teaching. So if you teach and you're interested in what we use for engineering students, check it out. It has the notebooks, including explanations, examples, and a bunch of exercises. And then at the end of the notebooks, the answers, or at least the answers that I came up with a long time ago. For you to use. We get quite a few users nowadays. I don't use Notebook Grader. I actually told the university I'd love to teach it, but only if I can decide how many teaching assistants I get. And they lived up to that promise. So I have 10 teaching assistants helping me out, answering questions from students, grading, and actually giving personal feedback. And I think that works pretty well. But there are 3 exams a year where the students cannot sit behind their own laptop, but they have to go to the computer room and actually do a test. And that's always a challenge. But it's kind of fun, and at the end, most of them learn it pretty well. So if you're interested, check out the website and use the notebooks. I have one more. No, this is the last one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
I'm feeling blue.
Light blue?
Piotr, yes.
You want to use HDMI
lightning
or
talk.
USB?
Okay, so I would like to show you that you can have interactive widgets in the notebook without callback functions. So I'm working on a package that is called Mercury. And in Mercury, you have widgets that you can use in the notebook. So for example, here you have, so this is a very, very simple example that we have a pandas data frame with 2 features, some random numbers, and we are doing the scatter plot of those random points, and we have widgets to manipulate the markers on the plot, and there's no callback, so I changed the widget, and there is no interaction in the plot, but I can run the cell manually and change the plot, because I feel that notebook is for development, not for making apps, okay? And that's why I created Mercury framework. And with Mercury framework, you can run this notebook with with widgets by running the Mercury run, and this command will take all notebooks in the directory and serve them as interactive web apps. And in this mode, when you're running the new notebook in the Mercury, the widgets are interactive. So here, when you change the widget, then you need to manually change the cells below. And when you are running the notebook as a web app, if you interact with a widget, the framework is automatically re-executing the cells for you. So for example, I can have larger markers, different shape, and different color. And if you would like to learn more about Mercury, we have a website, runmercury.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
That's
next
awesome.
we have Teaching Python with Humble Data, and on deck we will have Eric Charles.
Here we go.
Ooh. Oh my God, now you see all my messy stuff. No, don't look. Okay. Now you can look.
It's fine. It's just going to be broadcasted on YouTube Live next year.
Okay, so thank you so much. And I'm going to tell you about Humble Data Workshop, which when I submitted it, I wish that Sandrine, one of the co-founder of this workshop, will be here. But unfortunately, she's also the local chair, so she's now at the registration desk. But you can tell her that you have been listening to me talking about her and Humble Data at the Lightning Talk. So also, please, if you want to know more, there's the link there to our website. So that's probably one of the most the mic is here, right? Okay, so one of the most important link slides that you could have. So what is Humble Data Workshop? So Humble Data Workshop is actually a workshop designed for absolute beginners. So we have learners who come in, they know nothing about Python, they have never ever written a single line of code, but we welcome them. We want them to come and learn some Python, some data science, Panda stuff. We all love pandas. Also, we are using Jupyter Notebook. Yay! So we also, it's not just the only thing that we want to do is to teach Python, teach, how to do data science like Jupyter Notebook and stuff, but also we want to build a community for these people. Lots of them, we try to advertise it in the kind of community that are underrepresented, so we want to welcome them to our community. And sometimes we co-organize with other conferences or with PyLady, so we will have outreaching kind of effect and want to bring more people and with diverse background into the community. Also, we want to empower people, so a lot of time we would encourage the mentee, the learner who have finished the Humble Data Workshop to become a mentor next time around. And so they will feel that they are now being able to help other people, so they have learned something, they feel that they could, a lot of them, again, from underrepresented backgrounds, so they feel that they can also be the leader of the community. Sometimes we even kind of encourage them to organize their own event as well. So Humble Data, we started 2020. So again, one of the co-founder is Sandrine, who's our amazing local chair this time. And also our friend John, who also kind of helped organize a lot of PyData events. And so we started that, and then unfortunately, when our plan is ready, we are ready to go out and give the workshop, pandemic hits, and we have to fall back into online workshops. So we have done it with other conferences, for example, PyCon US, PyData Global, and PyCon Africa. But then, of course, now we are back in person, right? So we can even do more outreaching. So we have now a Humble Data Workshop in EuroPython. They have been well received, and there are lots of people, young people, that learns a lot. And also, we have bring it to Africa, to PyCon Ghana, to PyCon Namibia, and try to help out the local community to kind of constantly have something they can do together. And also, I'm planning to go to Colombia, which I haven't officially announced yet, but I would go to Colombia and work with the PyLadies there to give a Humble Data Workshop. And there are more and more coming. So there's some picture in Ghana. We were so happy, and people there. I've just get back in touch with the local organizer there, and she said that everybody's doing well, and now they want to run another workshop, maybe not Humble Data, but another Python beginners workshop, which is great. The things that I learned while running is that working with local organizing team is very important because they help us to go outreaching and kind of find all these learners and also mentors. We have a lot of reliable mentors thanks to them. And also, setting it up is sometimes can be quite tricky, because people don't have Python on their computer, don't have Jupyter Notebook and stuff. So, but hopefully Jupyter Lite will help us. Am I running out of time? So, yeah. So yeah, everything is happy. So if you want to help, have a look at this slide. Let us know that there's any opportunity. If you have money, you can flow us money. That's it. Thank you.
And don't forget to breathe. Next on deck, we will have Dylan Wooten, or interactive data visualization any good? Are you here?
That was a question.
Yes, you're here. Great.
Eric,
Yeah. Eric?
go ahead.
Yes, it's your turn.
So, hello everyone, I am Eric and I work for Jupyter Lab and a Jupyter Server and a notebook, and this is one. And I guess there are users of notebook here, maybe they're half of this room, I don't know, and developer. And with developer, I mean people who develop extensions or we work inside of the core of Jupyter. And within those developers, there are Python developer and JavaScript developer. And
Keep talking.
yeah. And as JavaScript developer, if you look around the existing Jupyter Lab ecosystem, you're going to face some Lumino notion, and you need to be expert in a new framework. And so what I wanted to do, instead of asking JavaScript developer and maybe React JS developer to learn Lumino, I wanted to
Keep talking.
I wanted to invite those React developers, just keep using React and build a library which will allow you to consume Jupyter Lab components very easily. So what I've done, I've created Jupyter React. And what it does, it allows a React.js developer, and sorry if you don't know what React is, to embed Jupyter Lab very easily. And not only a notebook, but a cell, a terminal, or any exposed component that Jupyter Lab provides. And this is like a demo. What you see is a React application. So these are tabs built with React, and you can see a cell which is running, right? This is running, and you can change. This is one page, SPA, single page application with outputs, because I built this is a custom renderer. Here I decided just to show the outputs. Here same IPy widgets is supported. I just show the output, and I can do like a terminal in a React app. I can change theme. I can use console, and so 1 + 1 should be fine. What else? I have a file browser also, which allows you to connect to the Jupyter Server API and show you in a React way. I have also, I want to share here the GitHub repository. So we have 120 stars, looking for more contributor. User also, we use those components to build their custom web app. So start from a blank page. Don't extend the full-blown Jupyter Lab, but start from blank and add what you need. And there is a link also to the Code Sandbox. JavaScript developer may know Code Sandbox, and it just worked out. So hello, JupyterCon. How are you? That works. On Code Sandbox, you consume Jupyter Lab components very easily with a very low payload. Yeah, so we're going to break. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. So next is Dylan. And after Dylan, we have Ina about creative writing.
Okay. Thank you all for being able to come out today to the lightning talks. I know it's at the end of the day, so really appreciate everyone continuing to stay with us. So today I'm going to be talking about interactive data visualizations. And let's get started with a general prompt. So I work as a PhD student in the MIT visualization group, so it's pretty fair to say that I think that data visualization is pretty cool. But I'm curious if you could raise your hand if you actively use data visualization inside of some Jupyter or computational notebook environment on a regular basis. Okay, yeah, seems like a lot of people. Now, keep your hand raised if you use interactive data visualizations. So these are visualizations where you might have widgets, or you can actually interact and then get tooltips. Okay, this actually looks like a pretty good amount of users, and actually seems to be quite similar to what we see in terms of the data, in terms of how many people use data visualizations and even interactive plots when they're working in a data analysis notebook. And when you think about interactive data visualization, there's a lot of different ways in which you might interact with data. You may have tooltips, you may have the ability to pan and zoom on charts. And it's been really a darling of the data visualization research community to better understand how these different interaction techniques change the insights that someone has when they're conducting an exploratory data analysis session. And particularly inside of Python notebooks, there's been a number of visualization libraries that have been created lately that allow for you to easily create these interactive charts. Now, if you're actually walking through the process of creating one of these charts, and you start with a static visualization, such as a scatter plot, there's a number of ways that you can actually make these interactive. You could add a slider that allows for you to filter along some quantitative variable. You could add a click or a hover operation to be able to get a tooltip that displays more info about your data points. Or you could pan and zoom to inspect specific regions inside of your chart. Additionally, you could add in a search box that allows for you to maybe be able to highlight or filter specific subsets of your data based on a text-based matching. But there's a question of how do you choose what interaction techniques to use? And in particular, if you use a particular interaction technique, how does that change the insights that you might get from an exploratory analysis? So here's the pitch for you all today. Come join our user study where we are trying to better answer this question. So we have this QR code here that you can scan, but it's essentially a 2-hour opportunity for you to analyze some pretty gnarly data sets. You'll get paid $65, and then we're open to remote participants. The main thing is that we're going to be asking that people have worked with Jupyter notebooks before and have proficiency in at least one of these 3 data visualization libraries that we are listing here. As well as have worked and have a pretty good working proficiency with pandas. Now, hopefully that was enough to be able to get you interested in this study, but if not, I also want to just highlight one of the cool libraries that you'll get to work with if you do. So we have the ability to essentially create all of those cool, fun, interactive visualizations that I just talked about, just using kind of these scatter plots. But we extend over all of the Seaborn API, so you get to just spend some time making fun, interactive charts. And additionally, you can actually make interactive dashboards with this new technology. And that allows for you to be able to take your interactions here, transform those into a pandas query, and be able to actually get the data frame of the data that interests you back out. So this was essentially my pitch to try to get more participants for our user study. Please go ahead and feel free to take a picture of this slide. You can tweet at me if this talk has angered you or if you have other opinions on interactive data visualizations. But I hope that people have a good rest of JupyterCon.
Perfect timing.
Yes.
Thanks.
On the dot. Who's next?
Ina can come set up.
Where are you? Oh, you're there. OK, from the other side. And after on deck, we have.
Didn't we have this? No.
Yeah, it was at the beginning,
back.
so we're circling back. Just Muna Belaid, how to create R notebooks in Jupyter. Are you here now? Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Can you repeat the question? Max Espinosa from Passion to Purpose with Python. Oh, you just have no laptop. OK, so perfect. So we'll let you talk.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm a bit sorry for that. I'm not a software engineer, so I don't have any cool project to present or any slides. And well, also I do creative writing, which is why I gave this short talk the title on creative writing. They said it doesn't have to be programming related. So some probably famous person whose name I forgot once said that writing is easy. You just have to put the right words after each other. I'd have to add that, yes, in principle, this is how you get a story, but don't forget the punctuation marks. They're important, too. I think programming sometimes is very similar. I don't know about the way how other people program, but from the impression I got with just about everybody who tried to learn programming in the place where I live, first, typos are one of the main enemies. Autocorrection can help, but you have to be careful that they don't change the meaning of what you are trying to write. Also, the finished product is usually read top-down and from the left to the right. Someone in a talk I attended today said books are printed like that as well. True, but interestingly, I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone who writes a story like that. Maybe a short story, but any longer story, I don't think so. And just to give you an impression of what I mean, even this talk was not written and is not written down here in a linear manner from the top to the bottom. I actually have the introduction at the end written here. And the way I program is usually similar. Maybe it is because when I do that, I'm trying to circumvent a writer's block. That's another dreaded enemy of the common creative writer, and I think, again, programmers sometimes get it too. This is when you're just stuck on how to put your thoughts into words. Maybe the creative writing and programming communities should exchange some recipes against it. One thing that I personally find helpful sometimes is just writing code or ideas on paper. I spend too much time in front of my computer anyway. Again, I don't know how it is with you, but if I start a project, if it's a story or a coding project, it always turns out to take longer and become bigger than I thought it would initially. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ina.
So next is Max Espinosa from Patient to Purpose with Python. Already did. Oh, we already did.
Then we welcome Sheok back for Come to PyData London.
And let's remove this one from the deck.
Okay.
Sorry, there was some mishaps. And why are you coming up?
After that, do we have Patty? Then you're next after.
Well, yeah, you're N plus one. And that reminds me, like, someone I worked with told me that their students would only add function at the bottom of notebooks. They were so used to only filling in blanks that once the exam came and they had to basically write something and modify code before, they couldn't do it because they tried to only write code by appending at the end. Which you know, it's something which we are so used to that you actually need to modify code and modify it, and that's something that someone else wrote might be incorrect or need to be updated.
It's quick because I've done it once already. So yeah, this one will be much quicker because it's like PyData London, which is happening less than a month. Very exciting. It's not too far from here actually. You can just take a Eurostar and shoop, and then you are in London. And you know, now like London is a little bit different from before because now we have a king instead of a queen, and you know, you can buy a lot of souvenirs that say like coronation celebration. You can like kind of buy them back home because you can't get them anywhere, anytime after. So also we have a lot of amazing kind of things going on. We have a new venue. So if you have been to PyData London before, you know our venue is always the hotel next to the Tower Bridge. And now this time is actually will be at a hotel near there, but not the same one. So yeah, please come and check it out. And we have lots of good talks, you know, from machine learning to, you know, machine learning, more machine learning. And yeah, I can't remember all the talks here because I didn't select them. So please check out, have a look. We also have some kind of conference, you know, executive, you know, more business side of how to do data science and stuff. And also my conference, which is like talking about CRA, which is very scary stuff. So yeah, please, if you haven't yet, we are still selling the ticket. But please like be quick because we have like less than a month to go. So, you know, buy your ticket, book your train ticket, book your hotel, and if you're a really good friend of mine, I can recommend you some nice place to have a food and drink and all this stuff. So please come to PyData London, and we'll have 2 keynote speakers we'll be announcing soon. They are both very amazing people, so stay tuned. Yeah, I think that's it. It's very
Sounds
short.
great. Thank you. I guess we're now all best friends.
And on deck we have Konstantin Teleski, Polus Notebook Hub? Yes, great.
Hi, I'm Patty Mulliner. I wanted to show Buckaroo. This is the tool I made for data wrangling. I've dealt with a lot of data frames where you pull it in, you do the same Python pandas operations over and over again. I can type pandas code, I know it, but it's slow and it's not the right UI. So I built the UI that I wanted. So we import pandas and Buckaroo, we load a data frame, and then we bring up the Buckaroo widget. Overwrite, I don't care. So here we can look at columns. We can look at the whole data frame in a nice view. You can click on summary stats, turn that on and off. So let's start editing this data frame. Let's drop this column and then drop that column, and you can see it changing down below. We can also see the Python code. It generates the Python code for you that will do the same operations. Come back to data frame view, and we'll group by this column, which is start station name. This is city byte data for trips from station 1 to station 2. Take a mean of trip duration, and we'll do a count of start station ID, which will tell us how many trips were from each station. And then we can come back here and take a look at the Python code again. You can also add your own commands. So this is a copy of the group by command, and here we have the Python code for making the transformation, and the Python code for generating the Python code. So we just execute this cell, and then if we come back up here, you can see we added this group by command. That's Buckaroo.
Thank you.
Thank you. And after Konstantin, we have Sergey. Are you around?
Sergey?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for sticking around so late. We are Polus Notebooks Hub. We're building tools for data scientists and biologists at National Institute of Health. So we noticed there are two kind of big groups, uneven groups of users that we want to serve. Ones are programmers, data scientists, people like mostly in this audience. But there are other subject matter experts who know biology, who know microscopy, but they don't want code, maybe haven't learned yet. So we want to build dashboarding tools for them. So this is our Notebooks Hub. It is built on awesome contributions of this community. It's built on Jupyter Hub, Cube Spawner, and some tools from CES dashboards. So you can prototype in Jupyter, RStudio, or VS Code, and you can build, you can create dashboards in all these different frameworks. I'm probably going to add 5 more after attending all these talks. But what we noticed is really awesome and really helpful is to track some metadata about your project so you can reproduce it easily later. So Notebooks Hub, we track what application you use, what notebook script you run, your hardware selection, and your environment modules, which is another awesome contribution by this community called LMode and Jupyter LMode. And combining all this together, you can create those servers, and then Jupyter Hub will actually take care of running this for you, and you get reproducible data science experiments. A little bit of how we create those environments in LMode. We have at least one language kernel. Could be Jupyter, R, Java, the name, and the version. We do automatic builds, and then we mount those. So you don't have to build like a Docker image with everything pre-installed. You can upload this to a shared file system and load and create multiple of those and load which one is you need based on metadata. We also build nice UI with all the different cards, which tracks this metadata to you. And we hope to open source this later today. We use some internal package, so we cannot open source it, but you can go read the docs. And thank you for attention.
Thank you.
So we'll do 4 more, and after we will probably wrap up to let you, rest for our first
After
day.
Sergey, do we have Johan?
So I would like to talk today about the topic I think which is familiar for most of the Jupyter Notebook and Jupyter Lab users. So it's about restoring the So it's not playing? Oh, No, yes. Execution progress and the output after the notebook page is reloaded. So I think the following scenario, it's similar for, so it's familiar for most of the users. So just let me show it. You have a notebook. You have a long-running notebook, and you are executing it. So it's executing for several, could be executed for several hours. So you're submitting all the cells, and then it's executing. And what you're doing next, you are closing it and going to do another work, another tasks, and yes, so saving before doing that, before leaving. And after you did another task, you're coming back to this notebook, and you see that the kernel is shown as busy, but there is no progress shown, there is no output provided, so there is no information. Is it running? Is it, yeah, so it's running, yeah, but is it where it's running? So you could stop it, but you don't know how long, which cells were running. Yeah, and we looked deep into this, and yeah, so we found, like 3 main challenges. So the first, the session ID, it's generated every time when the notebook page is reloaded. So on the backend, so there is messages, they are buffered, but they are not replayed when you are refreshing the page. So the second one, it's a message ID every time when you are submitting the code. So there is a message ID generated, returning back to the UI, and based on this message ID, the UI could then display the output. And the third one, so there is a side case when the unsaved cells output, it's missing after the notebook page is reloaded. So the message is sent to the front end exactly at the time when the notebook was in the closing state. Yeah. So we fixed it, so we developed the front end and the backend extension, and for now, so after in another notebook, it's, yeah, so for the Watson Studio, I'm also using the recording, will be safer for internet issues. So you're going back, submitting the notebook, it's again the same one, and then you are closing it. Yeah, so for now, let's say saving output. And yeah, and after some time, you're coming back. And here, you see, all output is restored. So even the execution progress is returned, it's executed, and you could even stop the, you could close without saving it and coming again back. And all output is displayed again without missing any output, missing any message. You could stop it and see all the execution progress. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to present. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We have time for more?
Yeah, we can do two or three
Johan, you can set up. And is Nicolas here? Travo? Yeah, you're up next.
So I want to do a demo of some hardware stuff. It's not currently working. So instead, I'm going to show you another project I'm working on. So I work at Google, and our team is working on a project called XLS. And it's a high-level synthesis language that allows you to define hardware using a syntax that's very close to Rust. And so it allows you to write like a variety of algorithms and like generate hardware out of it. So for example, here, like it's a simple CRC calculator, but you could write things that are complicated as like video accelerator or crypto accelerator. And we found out that notebooks are very cool for people to discover those tools and get familiar with it, because it takes like 1 hour to compile that thing on your computer. And so, because it's all using like a build system that's only Google uses called Bazel. And like in order to get people more familiar with it, we started using Notebook to help them get started. And so we did some Conda packages, and we did some notebooks for them to be able to run some example. The language that we use is not really supported inside Notebook. So we do use like script hack to be able to send some code through our interpreter and verify that it's working. The nice thing is that because it's a language, you can actually write tests for it. Before like making hardware out of it, you can verify that it's like actually sound. And then you can generate like this weird language called Verilog that allows you to describe hardware and then run it through an open source place and route tool targeting an open PDK to make actual gate out of it. So here we have a simple adder function that's adding 2 numbers. You can see it turn into like a XOR and an AND gate. And then you run a place and route tool, and you get an actual chip that you can send to the foundry to manufacture. And so like most of like the people that are part of this ecosystem, they're mostly used to run like desktop tools that are proprietary, require like expensive licenses to run on their like a lab computer. But here, like using notebooks, we can allow anyone who want to get familiar on how to make a chip to just try it out inside their browser. And just to finish, I want to show you this language is also supporting like a concept of asynchronous communication between different parts of your chip called proc, but because it's like a very new area of the language that is not very well tested. So they tasked me with writing a lot of different samples to try that out. And so I came up with a very, very silly sample. I don't know if you're familiar with the Famicom, but there is another chip inside of it that's called APU that allows you to make noise. And I went on the task to try to remodel some of those oscillators using this language. So I can show you here how it looks like. Like I described, like the oscillator structure using this language. Again, that's close to Rust. And to communicate between the different parts and to communicate with my signal, I use like receive and send operation. But the nice thing is that I can write tests for it to verify it's actually working, and I can execute them directly and trace some of the execution inside the notebook. I can generate some Verilog, but then I can like run the generated like hardware code into a simulator to verify that the waveform that I get is actually producing some sound. And because then I'm in a notebook and I can use like most of the Python data tool to process this wave and look if it's looking good and try to hear it and see if it works. And so here, like we are modulating like the duty cycle and the frequency of the sound by writing 2 registers, and I don't have any sound on my computer.
Just in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come up if it doesn't work. And you have a talk on Friday, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I have another talk on Friday. So
another talk on Friday.
Awesome.
So come see him on Friday.
Yeah, I'm the last talk.
That will be the last talk of the conference, so please go see him.
All right, Nicolas Thierry from Université Paris-Saclay, also teaching C++ and Python with Jupyter to many students. And because of this, we had to manage assignments. So how do you do all these steps, like preparing, publishing, distributing assignments, collecting them, etc. And I will present today a small piece that can help in this landscape. So the idea is when you're teaching, and teaching computational sciences, in fact, you are doing some form of collaboration in code. So if you're doing collaboration of code, you might as well use the usual tool for collaboration of code, and this is use the Forge. And maybe some of you have learned about GitHub Classroom, where you put up an assignment as a Git repo, and students get it, make a clone and fork, etc., and submit it back. And then you can look, if you want to look at the assignment from your students, you just have to look at the list of all the forks of your project. There are some caveats. So 2 of them that we cared about, which is about personal data protection. I actually legally could not ask my students to put their work on GitHub. And also, it's nice to be able to integrate within your school system. So because of this, we decided to use GitLab on premises. But the main thing I want to highlight today is when you speak about version control and Forge, you start thinking, oh, this is going to be complicated. Maybe I don't want to have my first-year student start using it and having to learn how to use Git and GitLab before being able to write the first line of code. There is an answer to this. And the answer is to automate the process. Automate the interaction with Git and automate the interaction with GitLab. And this is where Travo comes to the rescue. So Travo is something that you can also use from your Jupyter notebook. And this is the first time I actually tried to integrate it into a Jupyter Lab Rise presentation. And it's not perfect. So I'm going to cheat a bit and show you how it looks like. So for the students, when they start the course, they end up on this. And they can just click on télécharger. Of course, my computer is configured for French, so it's written in French. But essentially, students have 2 actions. They can fetch the notebook, and they can submit. Behind the scenes, going to make clones, and it's going to configure the repository to be private so that other students cannot look at it, and instructors will be able to look at it. And when they're going to submit, it's going to trigger auto-grading by continuous integration, and you can see the score here, and you can see that I'm very bad as a student. So this means that first-year students can actually use this. So you might want to ask, it looks very similar, in particular the list of steps, preparing, releasing, etc. It looks very similar to NBGrader. Actually, it interacts well with NBGrader, and if you know more about NBGrader, you know that the main pain point is usually setting up a release, what's the name, an exchange service. And so you can use Travo as exchange service. But you can also, maybe I shouldn't be saying this here, but you can also use Travo for non-Jupyter assignments. Yeah, so just a quick sum up. Travo, it's to do some GitLab classrooms in a distributed way. It has a few devs at 2 universities. We want to welcome more of them. You can find the link to the repo there. It's ready for the battlefield. We have tested it at a fairly large scale. It's feature-rich. It's lightweight, flexible, etc. And one very nice feature is that you get your student to very progressively get into version control and forges and learn about these, which I think is very important these days. Thank you.
Thanks to all our speakers.